Reish Nun Beis.
I gotta get it.
Shin Nun Beis. I'm sorry, I said Reish Nun Beis. Shin Nun Beis.
Shimon Bays?
Shin Nun Beis. Shin Nun Beis. Shin Nun Beis.
Shin.
Shin.
Not that? Oh,
No, Shin Nun Beis, the simon.
the same. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, today in the Rambam we have somebody go to the mikveh and its air is outside. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
inside. Why? If the air is not part of your head, why shouldn't be? Why shouldn't
Well, it's
you?
Machuber, it really is.
Even though it's mukhuv, but it's not. It's not you.
Yes, he is very good shit on YouTube.
Baruch
Very
atah
good
Adonai,
shit on
Eloheinu
YouTube.
Rabbi, so if theoretically I have long hair, I should leave my hair out?
No, you should have your hair in.
Okay.
Any prices on?
HaKodesh alei skupa b'sefer, b'sifri HaKodesh also beglila k'sefer Torah. A person had a Megillah in his hand, and he's sitting on the threshold. And one side went rolling out into the Rishus Harabim, and the other hand, another side is still in his hand. He rolls it back to him. I feel in his galgal chutz al dal damas, even if he went out of dal damas. Because there's a doorpost on top of it, so it's within it's a Yachid, yeah. So L'choyre it went from Rishus Yachid to Rishus Harabim. Etira mishum bezayin kisvei kodesh. Adam dorisim alei skupa. She'em beglula zu isa Torah. Why is it not isa Torah? Hel v'rosh Hashem nisha b'yada. Because one half is still in my hand. Kol hazerik davar Rishus Harabim v'rosh Hashem b'yadam yachal v'yetzla deizeh potter she'en kananocha b'Rishus Harabim. If something is in your hand and it's a long thing, it's a long towel, it's 3 feet, or a table, a chair, it doesn't matter. If you're out of the window, you have a chair in your hand, it's outside, but it's firmly in your hand. Theoretically, if you want, you could put it back. So because it's firmly in your hand, it's not really munich b'Rishus Harabim. It's not in the Rishus Harabim because it's still in your hand. So even though it's in Rishus Harabim, so minat Torah you'd be potter. But the Rabboni, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to. But here, because it's a bezoyin that a Sefer Kodesh should be in the street and everyone's going to step on it, he's allowed to bring it back. Usually they said, if you put something out through your window to the public domain, even though it's firmly in your hand, so it didn't really have a hanocha b'Rishus Harabim. So it's because it's not b'Rishus Harabim. Torah is only if something is firmly lit. It's there. It's munach b'Rishus Harabim, and now I go and I pick it up, bring it in. Oh, now I was over. But if it's not munach b'Rishus Harabim, it's nothing. So when something is firmly in my hand, even though the other side or the whole thing of it is in the Rishus Harabim, but it's part of it is firmly in my hand, so it was never in the public domain. So minat Torah is not a problem. The Rabbanan said it's a problem, but only one exception. They said when it's a kisvei kodesh, it's a Megillah rolled out into the street. So if I'm just going to leave it there, what's going to happen? People are going to step on the Megillah. It's a bezoin, so allowed to bring it back. If the whole sefer fell out of his hand, the taka was munach b'Rishus Harabim, then it's also. I feel nafal kamlis also leviyatzla. Shelo yitiru shvuz gam kazeh mishum v'zayin kisvei kodesh. Even though this is the Rabbanon, this is the Rabbanon, but there is different levels in the Rabbanon. When something's firmly in my hand, but it's just outside the window, that's sort of a smaller shvuz, because really this thing is not really in Rishus Harabim. So within the Rabbanans, there's bigger and smaller. This is not such a, because really this chayfetz is not right now in Rishus Harabim. It's firmly in my hand. Mitvasa is not Rishus Harabim. Still Chum said you're not allowed to bring it in. Only kisvei kodesh of mekel. But even Kisvei Kodesh, if it fell out of my hand, so now it's in a Rishus Rabim, and not allowed to be over the Raisa to go take it from a Rishus Rabim to Sheyachid because the Bezoin Kisvei Kodesh. You're not allowed to do that. Even if it's a Karmelis to Rishus Yochid, Rishus Raboni, you're not allowed to do that.
Cool question for you. Are you, like, let's say you have a neighbor who you're friendly with. Are you allowed to stick your arm out the window and wave at them and
Wave,
pull your
yeah.
arm-
Wave, you could do.
How about pulling your arm back in?
Yeah, you could do. That you could do.
Okay.
That you could do.
That Al Pichsides, we have the concept of Etzem Sotafes, Mustafa Tafes Kula.
Right. Shata Teufels b'mekitzosa, Shata Teufels b'kula.
This is over here, the same thing in the Megillah.
Yeah. You're holding a little bit as if it's all
it's
all with you. Really, it's all with you. Alamai the Rabbanon said
Gzeir Hashem.
that Shek Zer Hashem, but Lagabe Kisva Kodesh from Mekel, B'Shor Dvorim, and all the other things. I feel enough for the Carmel is any other object, even if it fell Carmel is Varesh Shena B'Yodei, and the other side is in your hand, still also Levi Etzli. You're still not allowed to bring it to you. You're still not allowed to bring it to you. Skip the brackets. Next, Sif. Hoya Koyre Bo Yalagag. A person is reading in a Megillah and he's sitting on Sif Gimel.
Askupa is not Rishut HaYachid?
Yeshua is also Rishus HaYachid. They're both Rishus HaYachid, but we'll soon see what's the difference. It's both Rishus HaYachid.
I thought Askupa is like a Merpesa, that
No, it's mamage by the door. It's a
Uh-huh.
threshold by the door. The difference is, as I'll explain in a minute, it's both going from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRabim. But over there, because if he leaves it there, it's bets him on the floor, and people are going to step on the Megillah. It's a big bizon. Shenken, if he was on a porch, on a high place, a gag, so people are not going to step on it. It's just not nice. Before it, they're not going to step on it. Hoya Koyre Balagag. He was reading the Megillah on the gag. Magag, Mirpeset, a high place, whatever. Shusay Yochid. And this gal kol miyodei, Roisha Echad, Ad Shelo Yigil Asor Tvachim Atachtainim. If it didn't reach the bottom 10 Tvachim, Rekorevim La'oretz, which are close to the ground, go Le'etzli, can roll it up. Sha'avar Mokim Pturhu, because Shusay Yochid only goes 10 Tvachim.
Yeah.
Notice Shusay Yochid goes only 10 Tvachim. It's like from here till here. Higher than that is not a Shusay Yochid.
Like, for example, I could picture something like what you're talking about. In my parents' house, in my room, it was an extension, and outside the window was a roof. If theoretically, there was a Megillah out there,
And we're rolling down.
was the question: would I be permitted to take the Megillah from on top of the roof, outside of my window,
No,
inside the house?
no. You're allowed to go from your window onto the roof
Okay.
because that's elevated
Okay.
and it's 10 tefachim higher from the
Okay.
ground.
Yeah.
And it's a Rishus HaYachid because
Yeah.
there's walls on the bottom and it's a platform. Basically, it's a platform that's 10 tefachim high and there's 4x4
Uh-huh.
tefachim. So that's 100% a bona fide Rishus HaYachid.
Mhm.
The Shin Nun Aleph.
Shin Nun Beis, Simon
Oh,
Shin Nun
I'm
Beis.
sorry, Shin Nun Bey. Okay.
By the way, in Mitzvah Shem next week, probably I'm not sure if we'll do it next week or the following week. But the next sugya in the Gemara is going to be to clarify what's a Rishus HaYochid, what's a Rishus HaRabim, what's a Carmelis, what's a Makam Ptur.
Mhm.
That's monumental Gemara to
Yeah.
understand, to know Arba Rishuyas L'Shabs. Okay.
Question for you. Is going into is carrying from your house into your backyard permitted?
Yeah, well, it has to be that if there's walls around the backyard, 100% yes. If the backyard is opened to the public domain,
Mhm.
so then there's a problem. And we'll
Yeah.
talk about it in Mitzvah Shem next week and the following week when we talk about the Arba Rishuyas L'Shabs.
See, my parents have got walls. There's a fence and there is a stone wall, but there's also a driveway.
Right, so then we have to get into the mechitzas. I mean, if there's 4 walls, it's good. Even if there's 4 walls and 1 or 2 or 3 of the walls have a big opening,
Mhm.
that's fine. That's considered a door. You don't
Yeah.
need to have hinges and a door. If it's an open space, but it's there within the wall, that's not a problem.
After you talking about Rishut HaRabim, what's the gather?
Mokum Patur. The ear is Mokum Patur. That's what we're saying here. He was on a high porch and the Megillah went down, but it never hit to the bottom 10 tefachim. So really, right now, it's sitting in a makam tur, and you're allowed to take from a makam tur into the Rishus HaYachid. Let's go back to the beginning of Sif Gimel.
Okay.
You're sitting on a gag on a roof, or you're sitting on a porch. Rishus HaYachid. And the sefer rolling out of his hand. So because this is called an ave makam ptur. Even if it landed at something sticking out of the wall, again, it's not a problem. Skip the brackets. If it went so low that it's in the bottom 10 tefachim of the street level, which is the Rishus Harabim. So now you have a problem. It's like this. If the wall is a little bit slanty,
That's what we learned in the morning last night.
not to say that's how we learned this exactly. If the wall is a little bit slanty, so now you got a problem. Binyan shenochal of osel goylule etzli. Zayde shema yav yipol kuloi shama v'yevienu etzloi v'yischayim. You're not allowed to, even though it's because what happened over here? It went from a Rishus HaYachid to a Rishus Harabim. Now, because the wall is slanty and it's sitting firmly in the Rishus, so you're carrying from a Rishus HaYachid to Rishus Harabim or Rishus Harabim to Shein, not allowed to. Even though one half is in his hand. And we said that whenever I'm in one domain and I'm carrying a chair or something in the other, and the thing is firmly in my hand, so it's as if it's not in the other place. But for that, Rabbanan said it is considered it's in the other place. It's a bizoyin that people are going to step on the kisvei kodesh. Avokan shein drisa seregel veresham over here. There's no drisa seregel. Avu b'shasei mutal kachem b'rishus haram. Shazeh bizoyin loy loy. It's not nice that a Megillah is hanging like underwear is hanging up on a like you hang up undershirts and shirts and pants on a laundry line. It's not nice to hang.
Kids because with the face of out.
Yeah.
I remember in Yerushalayim on my Zed and Bobby, there was no dryer. There was
the line.
but they're like in the third or fourth floor, so it's like very high.
Mhm.
You walk in the city, walk up, you see anybody towels, underwear.
Not as a
Well, everybody, it's not like
exactly. So it's not nice that the kisvei kodesh should be hanging out like laundry. Good, but it's not like people stepping in it. Abakan shein dritza regel aver afa b'shasei mutal kachem b'rishus haram shebezoyin loy. Slogay lo etzle. Yafchenu al aksan. K'dei lama et habezoyin. Shek'shasav megula hu bezoyin yois. So you should minimize the bezoyin. Ahmed v'aram amurim k'shirab nakatem al shifua koisel. Shahos. Dine k'rishus harabim gemur. K'mashkosu b'sim Hashem ha'hei. Avlim ein rabim mekatem alov. Karmela. So b'karmelis. Loy gozuk zeidezu bekisvei kodesh shemutalam bebezayin.
so the college would be mutter.
It would be mutter. So this is like such complicated halachas. It's unbelievable.
Depends how the shipua of the wall is. If people
Right.
walk in there or not walking there.
Yeah. So he's saying that the average wall, even if it's b'shipur, people are not walking on it.
Right.
Elamai, if it's a shipur, people are going to lean on it. They'll put their bags on it. So it still has the din of Rishus Harabim. So this is what we're saying. That if the person is sitting in the threshold of his house, like you had in the old houses that were, in the old times, in every city, that it wasn't like you had the street and the sidewalk and the front lawn with grass and then the porch and the inner porch and the foyer.
In Europe, you have this, like the street is here.
The street, you have a door. So if a person is sitting on the skupa and it went flying out from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus Harabim is different than it went flying from a porch, which is Rishus HaYachid to Sham, even though both are Rishus HaYachid to Sham. But if it's on the floor, people are going to step on the Megillah. They're going to step on the Kisvei Kodesh, a big bizarre. So if it's still in your hand, I want you to pull it in. But over here, even though it's in your hand, it's not going to be a design. So if we're not letting you pull it in, just have to turn it, and that at least the word shouldn't be exposed. This is all when you're going from Rishus Yochid to Rishus Aram. But if the place that it landed on is a caramelist, so then Taki allowed to bring it back in. But if the wall is straight, even though people are leaning on the wall, if the sefer didn't rest on it, like I said yesterday, if you have a drone flying in the ear on Shabbos, and you see it right out the window, and you want to grab the drone and bring it in the window. So someone say, no, it's an Rishus, that's a Rishus Aram, it's Rishus Yochid, not allowed to. The answer is you're allowed to, because it's not sitting in the Rishus Aram.
It's about 10.
Floating in the ear.
It's in a,
Even if it's lower than 10 tvachim.
it's a-
The average drone is higher than 10 tvachim anyway. Anyway, it's a Mokim Ketur.
Yeah.
But even if the drone would be lower than 10 tvachim, because it's not munich, it's not, so you're allowed to bring it in?
It's just muktzeh.
What? I like healing, yeah.
It's just muktzeh.
Exactly.
Cool question for you. Let's say you're reading Megillah and there's a wind and it's blown to a wall in between properties. Like it's between your property and going into the neighbor's property.
Once it flew out of your hand,
Yeah.
if it's in another rishus, from Rishus Yachid to Rishus Rabim, or even if that's not a perfect Rishus Rabim, but it's called a caramelist, which is a quasi Rishus Rabim, which is not the perfect Rishus Rabim, not the perfect public domain, whatever the perfect public domain means, 600,000 people, this or that, whatever. Even if it's not in the perfect public domain, if it went and if I'm flying from Rishus Yachid to Rishus Rabim, I think it's not allowed to.
Question: what if it flies from your Rishut Yachid into the neighbor's Rishut Yachid? What is that considered? Still Rishut Yachid?
I mean, if the other guy is a Jew, so then probably he doesn't mind. He'll respectfully take care of it. If it's a goy, say Rishus Yachid, because it's not. So
You're allowed to carry in Shabbos.
yeah.
You're allowed
Let
to
it carry. Okay, that's not an issue.
problem.
No, but what happens if they didn't make Erev Chatzeris? It's living next to Goy. They didn't make Erev Chatzeris.
Yeah, the situation I'm thinking of my parents have got a fence, and their neighbor
Is a Goy.
is a non-Jew.
Right. So here, it's a good question. Okay, here we said that if it went mamish flying into different rishus, Rishus Yochid, even to a caramelist, and it's not in your hand, you don't want to bring it back. Over there, it's a serious issue. It's issue of going from Rishus Yochid to Sharam, even though it's not a real Rishus Sharam, it's a quasi Rishus Sharam, it's a caramelist.
When I go to my parents, I'm going to take some pictures.
It sounds like a Rishut Yochid to Rishut Yochid.
Yeah.
From what the word that you described.
Oh, man.
Man.
Okay, let's read again this piece. Because on the shub ab b'shuv shus rabim b'rab mekatvan of kivin shaloi noch and sefer lo muta l'goy le'etzle kol man shaloi gel ha'orch and ligze shem v'kuloi v'viene l'fish af and mipol kuloi l'shus rabim lo yanosham yet eli yetoli b'av shus rabim muta l'koltem and aver l'vei l'shus yoch ben ha'toira el sha'osor medivrei sefer menaf ha'kuloi okay, I'm sure the one I feel like enough of the lava is just a rabbin. Nosham also levi etzlei, not a lava carmel, and nosham muta levi etzlei rejechem nishabiyod. Any other object, even if it's once half is in your hand, it's also to bring it. But if it went to the ava carmelus, you're allowed to bring it in. Okay, so let's take a little stop now. Shaila is, should we learn something else or should I tell a story?
Tell a story.
Tell a story.
Yeah.
A nursing home.
Hmm?
That's
Okay, a story, a Rebbe story.
Tzaddiker Rebbe's yard site there. The
Oh,
old
yes.
Tzaddiker Rebbe.
Uh,
And he had a whole big schmooze with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. They printed it in the magazine.
oh yeah, very nice,
The,
very nice, very nice. Sadiger Rebbe.
the one that was nipped about 10 years ago. Not the young one, the one.
Right,
Tel Aviv.
right.
The Rebbe want them to
Stay in Tel Aviv.
Huh?
also the also
You know about it?
about the Shiurs.
Hey,
I heard about it. The Rebbe want to push all the Jews should be rich. He's scared.
Yeah, he agreed that you gotta have both, yeah. In that magazine,
Okay. But don't worry, whatever the printouts and the handouts that I prepared for tonight, which are very geschmackas sugya, we never will do, but we'll do another story first. We'll do the story first. So they published it this week in the Kvar Chabad. Someone in the Kvar Chabad magazine went to Borough because he heard the story floating around. The person told the story with his brother, a hulu. So they lived in Crown Heights, and that time Crown Heights was very, very Jewish neighborhood. So this person said he lived on St. John's between Rochester and Buffalo. You don't want to go there today, today at night. even now, when New York is it's not 60s. It's not the.
It's gentrified.
No, it's gentrifying, but it's still.
It's a little bit rough.
Yeah, it's still, yeah. So-
You give lots of dates on those stories
Yes, yes.
during the day.
So there was this Leib Eisner. Now, Yidden Barpak told the story. Him and his brother, their family lived there. There were hundreds of shuls. I mean, if you drive by now, even
Brownsville used to be around there.
right, Brownsville is right after that, right? Huh?
Yeah,
That's not Brownsville yet. There's a few blocks over, huh? A few blocks over from Brownsville, but that's still considered Crown Heights. St. John between Rochester and Buffalo. One more block, another 2 blocks. Go by Brownsville. Still today, you see it. Hurt. You see churches with Magen David's, with Mosaic Nishmas.
Right.
Very sad. It's very sad, and to think that all these churches they bought these properties for peanuts. Ratzachta v'gam yerashta.
They left.
The Jews left, and the Jews sold their houses and the shuls and the institutions for peanuts. Mamish, peanuts is nicht kein Wort. At the Rebbe, it's gebeten Rachman, the Lubavitcher Olam, were very poor at that time. They should buy houses.
They don't need money to buy a house.
My grandparents bought a house. They have a 4-floor house, like a building on Eastern Parkway. You know that row?
The last one before the building.
Paid $5,000 for it.
Wow.
$5,000.
That's nothing.
Yeah, but this is like 50 years ago.
5,000, like 150,000.
Yeah.
But
Still, it was.
even 50 years ago was good.
Made $5,000 a year.
But Rabbi,
Regular job.
Yeah, but still, today you buy a house in Brooklyn for $2 million. Who makes $2 million in a year? So,
Rabbi, even 50 years ago, 5,000 was good.
right.
It's amazing. It's like
The
a
Rebbe-
steal.
The Rebbe was very upset that Yidden are moving. The Rebbe set up a Torah, not allowed to, not to sell to Goy. It's a hezek to another Yid. Didn't help. Whatever.
They're not
People-
gonna kind of warm with this guy saying the back of
Yeah, he's not here now. Yeah, don't.
Okay, right there.
So the Rebbe was against the selling, but it was very dangerous. It was very dangerous. His temesis, I wasn't back there. I wasn't the 70s, but I remember the 80s very well. Also 70s, I remember a little bit. It was
We went to Ohio.
right.
We went to-
Yeah, it was
On the pine.
yeah, exactly. So they said they had a shul on St. John's between Rochester and Buffalo, which 50s, the 60s, it was Reborach Rekeach, it was a shul. It says it was mamish, it was packed, always packed. But when the Yid started to move out, the shul was getting empty. There was a Yid that had a grocery store on Buffalo between Eastern Parkway, on Rochester between Eastern Parkway and St. John's. A little grocery store. It says his name was Rebanchel, and it was a tiny store, but they sold basic stuff and the Cholav Yisrael, Pas Yisrael, bakery goods, v'chulu. Tiny grocery
There
store.
was a Chalav Yisrael. So nothing. There's no company that make Chalav Yisrael.
So good. He came to shul one night, and he said that Rabbi Isai, he said he's selling his house, he's selling his store. Selling his house, he's selling his store. He says, okay. Everyone was very upset, but everyone's moving, Sure. Someone told him, why don't you go see the Lubavitcher Rebbe? So he went to the Rebbe. The Rebbe told him he shouldn't move. The Rebbe gave him a brocha. He decided to stay. He could stay there for many more years. It's another 10 years. Eventually, there was not a single Jew left there.
There's no parnasa.
Yeah, exactly. But for that time, he stayed for another 10 years. The Rebbe gave him a brocha. He stayed. So this person's telling the story. He said he was coming back from school one day. He sees cops. It's a madhouse. He walks in front of the store, and this Anshul, the fourth, the Schwarz is some guy. So what do you do? So he had a dog. He had a dog in the store. So it was a friendly dog, a very friendly dog, and customers liked the dog. But he had a dog in the store. And he sees on the floor, he says he couldn't believe it. He sees on the floor a huge Schwarze, and the dog is on his neck. And the police proved was a maton this everyone out. They took everyone off the block and again. Okay. He hears a cop saying to other cop, "This guy is crazy. This Jew is crazy for a few dollars." And he sees that there's he said he's tuna cans behind Anshul. The tuna bumblebee tuna cans are dripping with oil. The guy shot a few rounds, and he didn't matzliach to get this guy even once. He didn't get him even once. And tuna is dripping with the oil, and this guy is standing there. And he hears the other cop say, and about the Schwarz, he says he calls the Schwarz, he says this Negro is tzedreit. That he lost his life over a couple of dollars. The third guy says they're both tzedreit. Anyway, the whole place was on wheels in the shul. They wanted to know what happened. That night, Anshul shows up. And they said, Anshul, tell us, we want to know everything that happened. So he said that the Schwarzer came in and he should give his money. He said, Punkt, his register was packed with money. Punkt, he said that day, he had because he was expecting vendors to come, he wanted to pay them in cash, and he had there a nice amount of money. But the guy pulled out a gun. So he started to walk over to register to take out the money. But it's like Lamon that a few nights earlier he went to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe had told him because he said he wants to move. The Rebbe said, Al Pi Torah, he's not allowed to sell to a goy, and he shouldn't move. And the Rebbe said, Sevetachgor nitshap. These were the words, Sevetachgor nitshap. And the Rebbe said it like slowly. Sevetachgor nitshap. Nothing will happen to you.
Don't
More
scare
close
you.
than
Stay. stay.
No, nothing will happen.
Like, you ever walk the Rebbe, nothing gonna happen.
Nothing. So he said, why should I give the Schwarz? My own thing with Geld. I should give. The Rebbe told me. Sevetachgor nitshap. It's unbelievable. I'm gonna put it. So he said no. So the Schwarz shopped once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Each time I hit another tuna can. And the Sakapella, that the Schwarz was standing so close, and he had a bahola. His hand was shaking, and he ran out of bullets, and he went to fill up a few more bullets.
The dog jumped.
And no, but the dog was tied. So he said, well, I'm going to let this guy fill up another. So he ran over and he untied the dog. And the dog had verstanden was kommt davor. And the dog had him weggelegt. By the time the cops got the dog off the thing, the Schwarz was dead. Pronounced dead on the scene. The dog, I don't know what they did with the
You
dog.
didn't care about that.
I don't know.
He ate.
No, I don't know. What are they going to do with the dog? The guy was already, the Schwarz was already dead. By the time the cops got those,
Sometimes
But
they killed
I'm-
the
huh?
dog. They killed the dog, but in this case, not. He did his job.
he did his job. I came with a gun. Said everything was clear. The guy
The
didn't.
dog had sensed something.
The dog was able to see.
Smart dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could feel it, you know.
So that was it. That was it. The dog at the Mavegelik, Poshet, they took him away. It was given a mace mitzvah. It was given gendikt. It's pushed up. Appella, the person had such betochen in the words that the Rebbe
So
told
did
him.
he stay afterwards? Or
Yeah, he stayed. No, he
Stayed
stayed
after
there.
the school?
Yeah. He said he stayed there. He stayed there for another 7 years.
No Schwarzer came close.
And he stayed there for. Well, the Schwarzes, I guess, knew the story.
I know.
You don't mess with the Jewish guy.
But if it's already a black neighborhood, why is it any issue to sell?
At that time, it wasn't yet black.
Oh,
What do you
oh,
mean? It wasn't black at that time. He was asking a question. It was a shul. He had people. He had regular customers buying passes selling your grocery store.
Really?
But he wanted to be ahead of the curve. So anyway, that was the Rebbe gave him a bracha. The Rebbe told him he'll be protected, and he had a munah and in Taka. He was protected.
Going to give shopping means he wouldn't give shots.
Right, exactly.
In Pittsburgh, my father went to public school, so the Schwarz is protected from the
Yeah.
whites.
From the
His name was
whites.
Abraham. Don't start up with him.
From the
Schwarz is protected.
A guy from last Shabbos one night says that he went to his car by Remsen. What is it called? In the neighborhood.
Remsen Village.
East New York.
It's New York, but there's a name. This
East
Forest City.
East Flatbush.
Is what?
East Flatbush. There's another name.
Can I see? Can I see?
Yeah.
So he went to fix his car.
Yeah.
So he's in the shop over there talking to the guy. It's pretty short to start with him.
Wow.
So he didn't answer to them, ignored them. Then came another Schwarzer and started yelling at these guys like really bad and send them out, all of them. So he go to the guys like, very nice that you protect me. I don't know you. They said, no, but you're Jew, right? You're from Quanais. Let me tell you what happened to me when we came to America. My mother had no parnasa. She worked fully 2 jobs. And with all this, barely we make money, barely. So I used to loan in public schools. I used to, when they give loans, put some at night. So when I come home, I should have what to eat. That's a poor day. Mom, she didn't have food. And we live on Empire Boulevard. And one day my mother says, it was a Sunday, today don't go outside. Today is a party for the Jewish people. They have rides and food. You stay home, don't go outside. Because she went to work. She said, I stayed by the door. And I went downstairs and I'm looking and I see they're selling hot dogs and popcorn and French fries, you know. And it was like mama, it was a parade. Who came to this parade? The Rebbe. The Rebbe came out from the car. And the Rebbe told Bjorn Klein, call this boy. He was standing by the window. So the Rebbe called. So he opened the door and he went. The Rebbe gave him 2 $5 bills. He said, one for you and one for the ride, one for the food. Right? And the Rebbe went continue in the car, like that was my mom's couple seconds in this parade. Later on, what's his name? J.J. Echt, that's the Rebbe. For what you came to the parade to Empire, you in the morning I understand, but why afternoon you came to the parade on Empire Boulevard with all the riots and all this? So the Rebbe says, for one Jewish kid that stay up there in the
Ferris wheel.
and on top, and it was scary. And he says, my soul, this whole thing was that. But anyway, so the Schwarze says, I came to buy some food, and this bocher told me, I'll give you a whole roll. You pay like 25 cents a dollar, and you get like a raffle rolls to buy hot dogs. I'll give you the whole roll if you give me the whole $5. The bill that I ever gave. And then another bocher told him, I'll give you the whole rolls to go all rights you want if you give me the $5. Because
He gave it?
So he didn't care. He didn't listen. And he said, that day I had so much hot dogs, I brech. I went home. I went again 2 times. I brech because I ate so much hot dog. I wasn't listening. And I went on all the rights, making crazy more. So after this, I respect the Jewish people.
I love the Jewish.
That's why. So Jim looking for the video when they ever come out to see the kid, because there was someone who was taking a video.
Yeah?
Wow.
That's the guy.
Amazing.
How old was this kid?
I remember this parade. It must be about 30 years ago, 35 years ago. I remember when the Rebbe came to Empire Boulevard. Nobody expected the Rebbe to come. The Rebbe was usually after they go to the oil. The Rebbe asked Krinsky, drive down to this. I want to go to this place. It was balagan, people didn't know. The Rebbe car all of a sudden is there, and the Rebbe opened the door and come out. And from all the people in the parade, the Rebbe, point on the
Schwarze kid.
Schwarze kid that's standing inside the building, and from the window is looking, and the Rebbe knows he's hungry.
I mentioned one Shabbos. There's a Schwarze politician that he's a councilman. Gesagt that whatever that I used to talk to him and his brother.
His brother got killed.
Yeah. So Jeffrey Davis. So I mentioned Shabbos. Someone was here and he